Hello BZPower, and welcome to BZPower's review of set 70787, Tahu, Master of Fire. Tahu is one of the 3 larger sets to be released this January. He's going to retail for $20 in the US. I don't know the international prices, I'm very sorry. I only know that he's going to retail for $20. LEGO has graciously sent these out to us to review for you guys. So today, and now, at this exact moment, we're going to look at Tahu, Master of Fire. So Tahu was one of the original 6 Toa, as most of us know. So there's a lot of nostalgia and interest and fan excitement built up around a returning, or a new version of a returning character. So we'll see how he stacks up to both our original hopes and dreams and the world we currently live in as it actually is. So Tahu, as you'll notice, no longer comes in a canister. Here we have the box. It's a cardboard box. It's deceptively thin. Tahu is not going to be stored inside of this box anytime soon. And which, I've read a lot of you actually stored sets in the canisters, which is neat. I never did, so that was never a huge deal for me. But here it is. On the front, you see Tahu lava surfing, circa 2001, 2002. It's very reminiscent of both the original Tahu image and the Tahu Nuva image. The surfboard obviously more reminiscent of Tahu Nuva, but the overall look, I think, a little bit more reminiscent of the first Tahu. On the top is the new Bionicle logo with the LEGO logo prominently displayed. LEGO's very proud of themselves these days, and I don't blame them. On the back, we see all of the interesting little things Tahu can do, as well as a mini comic here, showing Tahu and the Protector of Fire, who is thus far nameless, dealing with some skull spiders. Tahu, of course, easily dismisses them. Here we have a little demonstration of the gear function, which we'll get to, the skull spider, which we'll get to, and the mask knocking out function, which, you guessed it, we'll also get to. Alright. Tahu, of course, comes with an instruction booklet, which is this one here. Inside of it are instructions. I know that sounds crazy, but sometimes people want to know. There's this cool image of all 6 Toa, the Mask of Creation, surrounded by the gold masks. Here we have an image of the upgraded version of Tahu using the Protector of Fire's weapons. People are talking about them being combo models, but they're really just more of an add-on. Eventually we will be seeing those on the the lego.com/Bionicle website. They are not ready as of yet. Alright, this is Tahu. Inside the box we have the skull spider. The skull spider and Tahu comes in bright yellowish green or spring yellow green, or a color I'm not entirely sure the name of, but has not appeared in construction sets before, and has been very small and seldomly used in system sets. It was used in a couple LEGO movie sets. It's both vibrant and kind of sickly at the same time, which befits an evil, most likely evil, I guess, maybe body takeovering spider thing. It's got these cool little claws, kind of remold of some of the Hero Factory claws there. And so it's also a mask, as you can see. It's got the prongs on there, which will attach to the new head. So it's kind of a pretty neat little look. Definitely evil, definitely skull-like, definitely kind of spider-like. The little mandibles up front there, which, like I said, it's a very, very cool piece. One of my favorites. It comes with both the red and the gold version of the new mask, which we are calling the Mask of Fire. Whether or not it has an official name or not, we don't know, but it's definitely molded to resemble the original 2001 era mask. And of course we have Tahu, seen here on his lava board as he is on the front of the box. He's a pretty imposing set. He's much taller than the original. He's got all of the little points of articulation we've become accustomed to with later generation sets in Hero Factory, with the wrists and the elbows and shoulders, and he also has the addition of gears and the head, so he can do some cool surfboard poses there. So he's a pretty neat right there. So he's got some friction joints here in both his upper legs and also in his ankles. Say, I've heard some people complain about the ankle ones, but because of the Hero Factory shell here, if it were not for those friction joints, there would be no movement. As you can see, the clearance there is very low. So those were clearly added on to allow him to actually move his ankle. So the thing that we are probably all looking about, and the reason we're looking at a video review, is we'd like to see how the gears actually work. So this is pretty cool. Harkening back to the original 2001 Toa, the new ones have added in a gear system that is also at the same time mixed in with the modern posability and friction. So you just turn the yellow knob here, and Tahu, both of his arms go moving. It's a little bit more imposing when he's got swords in his hands, but for the sake of the demonstration, he does not. So, and you can see here that the shoulder armor, which is attached to a separate ball here, moves along with it. So it's neat because unlike previous sets where the gear, you would move it and the arm would stay up very, very briefly before falling back down, these ones are built to purposefully stay in one place. So I can twist his arms there. While I'm doing that, I can move them around. I can pose him up, and his arms stay, which is super neat. So, and this, of course, happens because back here on Tahu's back, I'll fold these swords down out of the way, there is a gear that catches on another gear hidden underneath that is held on here by a friction pin. And the added friction with those adds just enough with these like ball joints here to allow for the arms to stay in one place. So the range of motion is pretty cool. The shoulder armor here does sometimes get in the way. It does sometimes pop out a little bit, so there's no extra room there, and the balls like to wiggle and change and be all over the place. So, and when his swords are up in the way too, sometimes, even though I think this is the coolest look, sometimes the armor will catch on them, and that can be a little awkward. And so, luckily it's armor catching on swords, so he's not cutting himself, I don't think. And if he is, well, I guess that's Tahu for you. The other new neat feature that's been added in is, again, harkening back to the original 2001 Toa, is we have a mask knocking off function. The original ones were done loosely. They were meant to be part of a play function where, like, the Rahi would pull the masks off, the Toa would knock each other's masks off with their weapons. That was just the point of the gear system. But these new ones have a eye sock in the back that goes back, and you just pop it, and the mask goes flying off. It's really neat. It's hinged here on an axle. And as you can see from here on the front, the brain just kind of pops up, and with just enough force to knock the mask off. Now, originally, LEGO said that it was a design feature on purpose to make the masks fall off, because they held on so loosely, parents and kids alike thought that it was an accident, a problem. So what they've done here is the masks attach with these little prongs in the back with a little circular indent that goes here into the indent on the head, and they just snap in place. I've heard Onua's is loose, but Tahu's holds on pretty well. I'm holding him solely by the mask here, and he holds up and it stays on. It flies pretty far when you launch it. Say we'll launch it towards the camera. Say the force obviously varies on how you push it, but it's pretty cool. So he's got these cool little swords in the back that can fold down and store, or I prefer the way that they are placed in the instructions in a lot of the visual design, where they kind of fold out in the back there like blades or kind of scarvish, and I think it looks pretty cool. So looking here at Tahu, we've got a pretty cool, pretty armored Master of Fire. So he comes with a gold mask, which I like a lot too. Say one of the big differences between this one and the original one is the original one used orange, and this one uses a few trans orange shells here and here, but otherwise he is mostly black, red, and gold, with a gold chest piece here with a, probably can't really see it, but there's a chrome pink line running through all of this that lights up pretty well in most light and looks really phenomenal. It's kind of like a little speaker design here to harken back to the more biomechanical look. Kind of a almost tribal, almost like techno-punk, cyberpunkish look on the front of it. It's a really cool blend between the like tribal feel and the mechanical feel. Say the mask itself, as we call it, is the Mask of Fire. Say, comparing it to the original mask, we can see a lot of the influences. He's got eyebrows here built in on ridges there to give him the stern look of the original. The vents have been moved a little bit lower, and instead of 3, we've got 2. The indent on top is there, but it's not open. Say, he's got a new, like, chin, beardy kind of look. Say, I think gives him a little bit more of a regal and noble appearance in person. In pictures, it just kind of looks a little silly, to be honest. Say, Tahu here comes with bright blue eyes, which are almost impossible to see in almost all light, but outside of the mask, it's a very pretty color. You can see his head here is molded without an opening in the mouth, which is also pretty cool. So Tahu looks pretty full. They filled in the back armor-wise there. The only complaints armor-wise I really have with him is the Hero Factory torso armor in red here on his lower legs. Say they make a really cool homage to like bell-bottomy look of the original pieces or the Toa Nuva pieces, but from almost any angle they look weirdly flat and hollow, whereas most of the rest of the set, the armor wraps around in a way that you can at least imagine it's covering what it needs to cover. But here on his legs, it just seems a little hollow. I'm not a huge fan. I like the shape, but I wish there was something a little bit more full we could do with him there. So his lava board is pretty cool. It gives him an extra set of swords. Tahu's gone from 1 sword to 2 swords to a spinning blade thing in 2008, back down to 1 sword, and now he has 4. So these ones are really cool. They remind me a lot of Toei Likan's swords or mixed with Tahu Nuva's swords. And you can see him attack, and you can also see the armor up here trying to strike the sword, which is not my favorite thing in the world. Oh, and like I said, you can see his arm tends to try and fall off as there's no clearance or extra wobble room there for those pieces to really set. So, but overall, I think Tahu looks pretty cool. He's definitely got a strong and regal yet kind of slightly angry look to him, which befits the Tahu we all originally knew and loved, and we'll see how this one shakes out. So you can launch his mask, and like I said earlier, the skull spider fits right on top of there. His legs wrap around. On the images you see the lower legs wrapping around the back of the head too. This is nearly impossible, and when you can get it on there, it looks incredibly difficult, and so we're not going to do that. So I'm not sure why the images all show it that way, because it's like I said, it's nearly impossible to do. Looking at Tahu here, we've got the skull spider mask, the little spider arms. The golden swords are new in construction. They've only been in 1 Ninjago set, and that one's the big Ninjago Battle for Ninjago City set, I believe. We have these new swords, which are pretty cool. They've got the Technic connector here in his hand. There's another one on the bottom. There's the pin connectors here and here. These connectors here fit together so the 2 swords can connect together to make the lava board. There is a Technic axle here as well to connect to these fire pieces. Say Tahu obviously uses the yellow-orange, yellow-red mix. Saying I believe Kopaka might have the icy ones that we've seen before. He's got 6 of these new gold armor bits to try and reapply the old visual design style of Bionicle with the pistons and the accordion gear and the little indents and random details, but it's a nice half step between the original super detailed, over pistony, really mechanical look and the smooth, stylized Hero Factory aesthetic. I think it's a really nice middle ground that really captures the Bionicle feel without creating a brand new line of parts that, you know, would be cost prohibitive or expensive. Otherwise, we've got mostly reused parts. The most interesting part, of course, is the gearbox, which we can see here is a gray box with Technic connectors, and on the sides it connects in with pins, and the axle goes in through here and connects onto this gear here, and then this gear turns, and here you can see the friction turning here. You can see how even with only one arm it still holds mostly well, and even without something connected there, which is pretty cool. There's some cool little small like mini pins back here, which his swords connect onto. So overall, I'm very fond of the new Tahu set. I'm looking forward to seeing what else LEGO has to do with the new Bionicle line.